Hi everyone, this is Father Mark Davis of St. Patrick's of Heatherdowns wishing you a happy Lent. Now we are starting the third week of Lent, and it reminds me of one of the readings we had for Mass last week from the 16th chapter of Luke's Gospel. It read, "There was a rich man who was dressed in purple and fine linen, and who feasted sumptuously every day. And at his gate lay a poor man named Lazarus, covered with sores, who longed to satisfy his hunger with what fell from the rich man's table. Even the dogs would come and lick his sores." I am 6'7". I weigh well over 250. In Lent, I'm dressed in fine linen, if you want to call my albs that, and purple garments. So it's kind of like when I read this last week, I'm saying, wow, you could argue I'm the rich man with all this purple, right, for Lent in my big chasuble and dining sumptuously, because our lunches and dinners are probably better than 80% of the people what they eat in the whole world. Bishop Barron, said last week, as he sat down to his Greek salad lunch and had some fancy boots on because he lives in Minnesota, saying we're probably the only people in the world that have different shoes and different clothes for different times of the year. So what does this speak to us? I mean, it sure does give us comfort, right? It gives us comfort that God knows and cares for everybody in the world, but maybe in his words, a little trepidation, about us. Are there people that we ignore? Because what Bishop Barron said was that the sin of the rich man wasn't so much that he just didn't take care of Lazarus, but presumably he didn't even know he was there, that he walked over him several times a day and maybe didn't even notice that he was there. So for Lent, we're already 2 weeks in. We've been fasting, praying, and helping others, almsgiving. And so on the external, we can say, who is in need in my life or in the world that I ignore? And certainly, we're encouraged to be able to take care of people and to be able to support financially different organizations. But I think there's something deeper going on that struck me the more that this has resonated with me, and the more that I have contemplated this, thinking about purple and who do I ignore, it made me think of a song by the great songwriter who passed a few years ago named John Prine. John Prine, when he was in his early 20s, was a mailman, in Chicago. And one thing that really struck him as he delivered mail of how many older people would just be staring out of their windows at what was going on in the world. And just the sight and the image of these people lonely staring out, he came up with a song, probably you could argue one of the prettiest songs I've ever heard, and also one of his best songs. It's called Hello in There. And so it starts from the perspective of one of these older people, what he imagines their story is in his mind, and it begins, we have an apartment in the city. Me and Loretta liked living there. It's been years since the kids have grown. A life of their own left us alone. John and Linda live in Omaha. Joe is somewhere on the road. We lost Davy in the Korean War. I still don't know what for. Don't matter anymore. And the chorus. You know that old trees just grow stronger and old rivers grow wilder every day. Old people just grow lonesome, waiting for someone to say, hello in there. Hello. John Prine is a folk singer, connected almost with country music, lived in Nashville. And that last line, old people, they just grow lonesome, waiting for someone to say, hello in there, hello. Wow. I tell you, as I reviewed this last couple of days, I'm just bawling because there's this image of, do we ignore people? Not on purpose, but do we pass people every day and not see them? Do we look them in the eyes and say, hey, hello in there? And this certainly could be true with people in nursing homes, people who are disabled, people who are really wrinkled and maybe not in full capacity. And then, we've all had that experience. We look and see them. But I think this could also be expanded to everyone we meet, just every day. People we work with, people we live with. Do we look at them in the eyes and do we see them? Do we say hello in there? And maybe that's part of our sin of omission. Maybe that's what the rich man has to say with us, that we put a chasm between us and God. Because Jesus says, whatever you do to the least of your brothers and sisters, you do directly to me. Maybe if we're feeling isolated and we're feeling alone and we're feeling that we're so busy that we don't know where God is, maybe we start with trying to see people, to look people in the eye, people we pass on the street, people we're in line with at the bank, people we live with and work with, go to church with. How would our life be different the rest of Lent and the rest of our lives if we made an effort to not only look at people, but see them, to look them in the eye and say, hello in there. God bless you. Happy Lent.